They told us sunscreen was safety in a bottle, a shield between our skin and the sun. But what if that protection was a lie? What if the very brands you trusted to guard your family were quietly linked to the one disease they promised to prevent? The FDA's latest investigation has exposed a horrifying pattern. Multiple sunscreens still sitting on Walmart shelves contain traces of benzene, a known human carcinogen found in industrial exhaust and cigarette smoke. Studies show even minimal exposure can build up in the body over time, like sunlight that never fades, only festers. How many summers have we spent rubbing poison into our pores while companies cashed in on our trust? How many dermatologist-recommended lies have we sprayed across our children's skin without a second thought? This isn't paranoia, it's policy failure wrapped in plastic. And the worst part? They're still selling it. This is the Downturn Report, where the truth gets personal. Don't panic yet. By the end of this video, we'll reveal which sunscreens are truly safe and which belong in the trash. Number 1. Neutrogena. You know something's wrong when the same company that made baby shampoo so gentle it won't sting your eyes ends up selling sunscreen that could sting your DNA. In a move that rattled even the most trusting shoppers, the FDA issued an urgent warning after finding that several Neutrogena aerosol sunscreens, including the household favorites Ultra Sheer, Beach Defense, and Cool Dry Sport, were contaminated with benzene, a chemical so toxic it's banned in most manufacturing processes except for industrial solvents and fuel additives. Think about that. The same chemical that helps run your car's engine was sitting inside a bottle meant for your skin. And not just any skin, the kind parents spray on their children at the beach, thinking they're doing the right thing. But as it turns out, some of those cans might have offered less protection from the sun and more of a welcome mat for cancer. Independent testing by the watchdog lab Valisher cracked open the illusion. Their reports revealed measurable levels of benzene in multiple Neutrogena batches, some over 2 parts per million, enough to make chemical regulators uneasy. Johnson & Johnson's official response? A gentle corporate sigh, a voluntary recall of certain batches and the usual PR lullaby. No known injuries. But the part that made Americans' blood boil wasn't just the contamination. It was the fact that even after the recall, Walmart's shelves remained lined with these same products, their bright blue cans still whispering, "Dermatologist recommended," like nothing ever happened. It's the kind of corporate gaslighting that could make a church choir cuss. Behind the scenes, what inspectors found inside Johnson & Johnson's production facilities could have passed for the set of a dystopian documentary. Shared gas systems rarely sanitized, chemical residues in pipelines, and contaminated butane propellant still being used to avoid disruption during peak season. Translation: money before safety, as always. An internal memo reportedly warned of sludge accumulation in propellant tanks, but it was buried faster than yesterday's bad headlines. It's like watching someone mop up an oil spill with a paper towel. Performative, not preventive. And yet, the betrayal doesn't stop at the factory floor. The marketing that sold these products dripped with false purity, words like invisible, weightless, and clean. It's corporate poetry for poison, the kind of doublespeak Orwell warned about. Every spray coated consumers not in protection, but in quiet deceit. A mist of betrayal disguised as care. And the cherry on top? Those dermatologist recommended labels weren't the result of medical consensus, but of internal marketing surveys where company-paid doctors conveniently endorsed their own employers' products. That's like a fox writing Yelp reviews for the henhouse. The truly terrifying part isn't just the contamination, it's the silence that followed. How many people still have those same cans tucked away in their summer drawer, ready for next year's beach trip? How many parents still trust a brand that treats voluntary recall like a get-out-of-jail-free card? When corporate giants like Johnson & Johnson keep selling sunshine in a can that's laced with darkness, it's not just negligence. It's deception at a national scale. If you're tired of being sprayed with someone else's shortcuts, there are safer sunscreens that don't double as chemistry experiments. Dermatologists now recommend switching to mineral-based, non-aerosol options like Elta MD UV Clear, La Roche-Posay Anthelios, Blue Lizard, Babo Botanicals, or Badger Balm, formulas that rely on zinc oxide and titanium dioxide instead of risky propellants. They may not sparkle on TV or come with catchy jingles, but at least they won't turn your next beach trip into a toxic lottery. Because when Neutrogena calls its line ultra sheer, maybe it's time we all admit, what's really sheer here is the trust they burned away, one can at a time. Number 2. Aveeno. Aveeno was sold as the calm voice in a noisy industry, the brand that promised peace in a bottle, oatmeal comfort, and nature's quiet touch. Its pale green labels and soft ads spoke like a lullaby to your skin, whispering promises of gentleness. But when the FDA issued a recall warning alongside Neutrogena, that whisper turned into a hiss, the sound of aerosol cans leaking benzene, a chemical better suited for industrial plants than your pores. Benzene isn't just another contaminant, it's a Group 1 human carcinogen, a substance proven to cause cancer. And yet, while the public thought they were misting themselves with a breath of fresh air, what they were really doing was inhaling a silent betrayal, a spritz of poison disguised as care. Independent lab testing by Valisure revealed that multiple Aveeno aerosol sunscreens, including the well-known Protect Plus Refresh and Continuous Protection lines, contained measurable benzene levels. Johnson & Johnson, already reeling from other safety scandals, issued a voluntary recall and called it precautionary. But that word sounded hollow when shoppers noticed the same cans still sitting on Walmart shelves weeks later. Corporate denial was served with a straight face, like a waiter insisting the kitchen's fine while smoke billows out the back. The truth. The contamination wasn't an accident. It was a symptom of a production system running on shortcuts and corporate caffeine. Leaked internal documents described aerosol lines shared between sunscreens, insect repellents, and deodorants, while propellant tanks were merely wiped instead of washed to save time. Cleaning solvents, management said, were too costly. Translation: a cheaper conscience. At one Johnson & Johnson facility, inspectors reportedly found buildup in the water filtration system that looked more like algae bloom than manufacturing equipment. Workers joked that the machines were seasoned, as if the grime added character. Maintenance logs were conveniently recreated when regulators asked for proof. It was the kind of bureaucratic gymnastics that would make even Washington blush. What made it worse was Aveeno's sanctimonious marketing. Every ad spoke of purity, balance, and nature, yet the only balance it perfected was between greed and guilt. The oatmeal ingredient, its supposed hero, was found in concentrations so low you'd need a microscope to see it, while the rest of the formula relied on synthetic carriers and aerosol propellants tainted with benzene. It's like calling a fast food burger organic because someone waved lettuce over it. Meanwhile, the products were marketed to babies, seniors, and people with eczema, precisely the groups most vulnerable to benzene's effects on the immune system. That's not skincare, that's a slow-motion ambush. When lawsuits emerged accusing Johnson & Johnson of negligence and false advertising, the company responded with the same PR smoke machine it's perfected over decades. New packaging, updated formula, rebranded safety. Old cans vanished, new ones appeared. Same script, different label. It's like watching a magician saw a woman in half. You know it's a trick, but the crowd still claps. The FDA's role wasn't heroic either. After the initial warning, the bureaucracy retreated into silence, leaving consumers to play detective in their own bathrooms. If you want real protection, skip the brands that build trust on TV slogans and instead look for those that publish their ingredient sourcing and independent lab results. Safer options include Bioderma Photoderm, Shiseido Anessa, Black Girl Sunscreen, ThinkSport, All Good, and Suntegrity. Names that rely on mineral formulas, not propellants. These aren't the flashiest bottles on the shelf, but they're the ones that won't sell you a sunny lie in exchange for your health. Because Aveeno's biggest crime wasn't the contamination itself. It was the calm, calculated way it convinced millions that danger could smell like oatmeal and look like nature. Number 3. Coppertone. Coppertone didn't just sell sunscreen, it sold a slice of Americana. The poster child with the tugging puppy, the golden beaches, the promise that happiness came in a bottle of sunblock and trust. But when the FDA announced that several aerosol lines of Coppertone Pure and Simple, Sport, and mineral sprays were contaminated with benzene, that all-American nostalgia began to smell a lot like chemical waste. The brand that once painted summer in pastel blue suddenly found itself dipping into shades of corporate gray. It wasn't a fluke either. Internal documents and follow-up tests revealed that the problem wasn't one rogue batch. It was a chain reaction of neglect running straight through Beiersdorf's American supply lines, where shortcuts were cheaper than safety and transparency was as rare as SPF honesty. What stunned everyone wasn't the contamination itself, it was how neatly it was buried. Beiersdorf spun the scandal like a PR smoothie. A voluntary recall of select lots. No immediate health risk. Trace amounts only. But behind that polished phrasing was a ticking time bomb. Quality control logs, later uncovered by watchdogs, showed malfunctioning aerosol valves patched with duct tape and storage tanks, coated in residue from prior production runs. Think of it as reusing a frying pan after a grease fire. No matter how you scrub it, the smoke lingers. One photo taken inside the plant even showed warning tape across a pressure gauge reading twice the safe level, captioned by an engineer as still running fine. The truth was uglier than any sunburn. This was corporate laziness wrapped in a safety label, and the deceit didn't stop at the factory floor. While Coppertone was busy drafting apology statements, its distributors were still shipping fresh pallets of aerosol sunscreen to Walmart and Target under barely altered product codes. The batch numbers changed, but the formula and the risk didn't. One investigator even found the same contaminated line repackaged as part of a limited edition promotional set. It's the corporate equivalent of painting over mold and calling it a renovation. And the kicker? Their customer service line repeated the same robotic reassurance. Trace benzene levels pose minimal concern. Minimal for whom, exactly? Certainly not for the millions of families trusting that little blue bottle to keep cancer away, not spray it on. Beiersdorf's internal audits read like a script for disaster. The company had quietly cut inspection staff during the pandemic to streamline efficiency, a euphemism that in corporate language means fire the watchdogs. In leaked correspondence, one senior manager even advised teams to delay disclosure to FDA until root cause is confirmed, which in reality meant stall, distract, outlast the headlines. It was a masterclass in damage control and a slap in the face to consumers who had spent decades believing Coppertone was synonymous with safety. The same brand that once symbolized carefree summers was now a metaphor for corporate rot, a reminder that sometimes the biggest burns come not from the sun but from betrayal. But what truly chills the spine is the normalization of it all. The average American no longer gasps when hearing about benzene in sunscreen. We've been conditioned to shrug, mutter, they'll fix it, and toss another can into the shopping cart. The corporations know this. They count on our exhaustion, our numbness, our willingness to trade outrage for convenience. Coppertone isn't just a brand anymore. It's a mirror, reflecting how easily comfort blinds us to contamination. Still, there's light beyond the chemical fog. If you want protection that doesn't come with a side of deception, skip the aerosol aisle and reach for sunscreens that actually earn their trust. Dermatologists now point to CeraVe Sunscreen, Paula's Choice, Raw Elements, Kula, and Beauty Counter. Chateau brands using non-aerosol mineral bases, transparent ingredient lists, and manufacturing practices that don't look like scenes from a cautionary documentary. They may not have a nostalgic mascot, but they won't make your morning routine feel like an episode of corporate crime TV. Because after Coppertone's pure and simple turned out to be anything but, the only thing truly simple left is the choice between what protects your skin and what profits from it. Number 4. Banana Boat. Banana Boat was supposed to be the smell of summer itself. The faint sweetness of coconut, the tang of salt air, the childhood memory of your mother chasing you down with a bottle in one hand and trust in the other. For decades, that yellow bottle was shorthand for safe under the sun. But in 2022, that trust peeled away like sunburnt skin. The FDA revealed that several lots of Banana Boat Hair and Scalp Defense SPF 30 contained benzene. Yes, that benzene, the same cancer-causing chemical you'd expect to find in a factory exhaust pipe, not in your beach bag. Edgewell Personal Care, the company behind Banana Boat, rushed to announce a voluntary recall, a phrase that now feels like corporate code for, we got caught but we'll act noble about it. The problem wasn't an isolated incident. Independent labs had been raising red flags for months, but it took a public scandal for anyone at the top to pay attention. What made this particular case so chilling wasn't just the chemical itself, but where it was found, in a product meant for the scalp. Imagine spraying carcinogens directly into your hairline, inhaling fumes that settle on your skin like invisible dust. It wasn't protection anymore. It was self-defense gone wrong. Former plant workers later admitted that aerosol machines were shared between multiple product lines with no proper sanitization in between. tanks meant for hairsprays were also used for sunscreens, filters were rinsed with compressed air and called clean. One technician reportedly joked that if it sprays, it pays. Inside Edgewell's warehouses, safety logs were treated like optional homework. Filled in after shipments had already left the dock. And when journalists started asking questions, Edgewell did what every modern corporation does. It blamed the invisible third party. A supplier issue, they said. The same tired refrain heard from every corner of corporate America when greed meets exposure. But internal emails later obtained by investigators told a different story. The contamination had been flagged months before the recall, and management chose to monitor the trend instead of halting production. Translation: keep the assembly lines moving and hope nobody notices the benzene until Labor Day. Even worse, retailers like Walmart quietly continued selling the recalled bottles for weeks, often slipping them into discount bins marked summer clearance. Shoppers thought they were getting a deal, not a dose. Banana Boat's smiling sun logo, once a symbol of warmth and family, began to look more like a smirk, the kind a salesman gives when he knows the warranty expires tomorrow. And when reporters pressed the company about long-term exposure, an Edgewell spokesperson actually said, "Daily use is unlikely to cause harm." That's like saying a spark is unlikely to start a fire. Technically true until it does. The rot runs deeper than a few tainted cans. Banana Boat's credibility had already been blistering under scrutiny. False reef-safe marketing claims, undisclosed animal testing in foreign markets, and quiet lawsuits over chemical degradation in its ingredients. Octocrylene, one of its star compounds, has been shown to break down into benzophenone. Benethatran, another suspected carcinogen. It's poetic in a dark way. A brand that claimed to protect your skin might actually be eroding it molecule by molecule. But perhaps the cruelest twist is psychological. Banana Boat wasn't just sunscreen, it was nostalgia. It was the smell of safety from childhood summers, now turned into a Trojan horse for toxicity. That's why this scandal hits harder, because it wasn't just about exposure to benzene, it was exposure to betrayal. It's what happens when trust is mass-produced, shrink-wrapped, and sold back to the very people who built it. If you still want the sun without the side of suspicion, skip the aerosol aisle altogether. Dermatologists now recommend safer, transparent brands like Eucerin, Aven, or Paula's Choice. Lotions, and creams that don't rely on volatile propellants or chemical guesswork. Or if you prefer organic options, look toward ThinkSport, Earth Mama Organics, or Bare Republic, brands that test every batch and post their results for all to see. They may not come with the smell of fake coconuts or smiling mascots, but at least they won't leave your scalp marinated in betrayal. Because after Banana Boat's fall from grace, the lesson is painfully clear. Sunshine might be free, but trusting the wrong bottle can cost you everything. Number 5. Hawaiian Tropic. Hawaiian Tropic once sold the fantasy that safety could smell like coconuts and sunshine. Every ad was a postcard. Bronzed skin, laughing surfers, turquoise waves, and every bottle whispered tropical paradise, while hiding something much darker. In 2021, independent lab Valisher ran wide-scale tests that cracked the illusion. Several Hawaiian Tropic aerosol sunscreens and after-sun sprays were found contaminated with benzene, a known human carcinogen that has haunted the sunscreen industry like a bad ghost story no one wants to retell. Edgewell Personal Care, the brand's parent company, downplayed the findings, calling them precautionary observations. But CVS and other major retailers weren't convinced. They quietly pulled certain Hawaiian Tropic products from shelves pending investigation. The official line was that the recall wasn't mandatory. The unofficial truth? The bottles smelled more like corporate deceit than coconuts. This was more than a one-off blunder. The contamination was traced to shared aerosol propellant systems, the same valves, pipes, and gas drums used to produce multiple brands under Edgewell's portfolio. Think of it like filling your sunscreen can and your car's deodorizer from the same nozzle. Only one of them was supposed to protect your skin. Workers later reported that tanks were rinsed with recycled solvents, some from overseas chemical suppliers who specialized in refurbished barrels. Those barrels, according to leaked procurement documents, had previously stored industrial cleaners and paint thinner. The company called it sustainable sourcing. That's one way to describe cutting corners until they slice through public trust. Even more insulting was the branding hypocrisy. Hawaiian Tropic had built its identity on reef-safe promises and eco-luxury marketing, featuring dolphins and hibiscus flowers as if corporate responsibility came bottled with fragrance. But scientists pointed out that many of their formulations still contained oxybenzone and octocrylene, two chemicals known to harm coral reefs and disrupt hormones in humans. It's like serving arsenic with an umbrella straw and calling it a tropical cocktail. The public didn't stand a chance against such sophisticated deception. The smiling sun on the label wasn't protecting anyone, it was mocking them. While the FDA's recall coverage was selective, consumer watchdogs uncovered a disturbing consistency. Across multiple Edgewell production sites, benzene levels did not exceed safety limits, but were never zero. That small word, trace, became the industry's favorite excuse, the corporate version of just a little poison. CVS issued a statement saying it had paused distribution to prioritize consumer confidence, yet stores continued selling other Hawaiian Tropic variants produced under the same systems. It's like taking one fish out of a polluted pond and pretending the water's clean. Then there was the human cost. Not to the consumer this time, but to the workers making the sunscreen. In interviews with overseas factory employees, investigators learned that many worked 12-hour shifts in suffocating heat without proper ventilation or gloves. Some developed persistent rashes and respiratory symptoms. These weren't just production issues, they were moral failures wrapped in the scent of island bliss. Meanwhile, executives at Edgewell attended global beauty expos collecting Green Innovation Awards, smiling for cameras while their workers coughed in the background. Nothing says environmental consciousness quite like branding your pollution as paradise. But perhaps the cruelest irony was how Hawaiian Tropic weaponized nostalgia. For generations, it was the sunscreen of middle-class America, a bottle found in every beach bag, passed between families like a summer heirloom. Moms sprayed it on their kids, retirees used it on cruises, and no one ever imagined danger hiding under that tan. Yet when the Valicia report dropped, exposing benzene across multiple sun care lines, Hawaiian Tropic's silence said it all. They didn't deny it. They just waited for consumers to forget. And they were right. Most did. That's how betrayal works in the corporate age. It doesn't need denial, only exhaustion. For those who refuse to trade nostalgia for negligence, there are safer shores. Consider Stream 2C, Loving Naturals, or Cabana Green Screen. Smaller brands that publish third-party lab results use zinc oxide instead of chemical filters and actually mean it when they say reef safe. They may not promise you Hawaiian glow, but at least they won't poison your skin or the ocean trying to sell it. Because when paradise starts smelling like propellant, maybe it's time to stop buying the postcard and start demanding the truth. Number 6. Equate. Equate was supposed to be the hero of the working class. Walmart's gift to everyday Americans who couldn't afford $40 sunscreens from glossy mall counters. It wore the language of humility. Affordable, trusted, for everyone. But as it turns out, that neighborly bottle sitting on the discount shelf was hiding a chemistry experiment worthy of a crime lab. When independent tests began detecting benzene, the same cancer-linked chemical that already tanked the reputations of major brands. In several Equate sunscreens, the illusion cracked like cheap plastic under pressure. Consumers weren't buying value anymore. They were buying exposure disguised in SPF numbers and a smiling sun. The scandal unfolded like a slow-motion car crash. Between 2021 and 2023, consumer watchdogs and class action attorneys uncovered that multiple batches of Equate's aerosol and lotion sunscreens carried measurable benzene traces, with some exceeding FDA's emergency threshold for contamination. But unlike Johnson & Johnson, which at least staged a PR recall, Walmart played the silent game. Shelves stayed stocked, new lot codes appeared overnight, and the fluorescent aisles kept glowing like nothing ever happened. To the casual shopper, it looked like business as usual, but behind that brightness was the shadow of one of America's most powerful corporations quietly sweeping toxicity under a clearance sticker. The rot wasn't just chemical, it was systemic. Equate products were produced by a patchwork of third-party manufacturers scattered across the U.S., each operating under Walmart's brutal efficiency doctrine. Former inspectors described a culture of corner cutting so deep it made fast food kitchens look like NASA labs. One ex-employee from a Florida facility said the propellant tanks used for aerosol sunscreens were cleaned with paper towels and prayer. Another recalled QA reports rewritten to meet shipping deadlines since you don't delay Walmart. This wasn't an accident, it was the inevitable result of a supply chain where human safety loses every argument to speed and savings. Then came the cherry on top, the reef-friendly lie. Walmart plastered the phrase across Equate sunscreen bottles, evoking images of happy sea turtles and clear blue water. But tests later revealed those very formulas contained oxybenzone and octocrylene, chemicals scientifically proven to harm coral reefs and potentially disrupt human hormones. A class action lawsuit accused Walmart of deceptive marketing, adding that benzene contamination was just the final insult in a long chain of misrepresentation. It's the kind of irony so sharp it hurts to laugh. The world's largest retailer selling eco-friendly poison in bulk, and yet the corporate doublespeak never missed a beat. Customer safety is our priority, Walmart said in a statement so hollow it might as well have been printed on vapor. When consumer groups demanded to see lab data, they received templated replies, letters polished by lawyers, not scientists. Meanwhile, parents kept spraying Equate on their kids, retirees slathered it on before fishing trips, and Walmart's registers kept ringing. After all, who suspects that the same store selling bread, diapers, and toothpaste would casually shelve carcinogens next to the sunscreen rack? The FDA eventually confirmed elevated benzene levels in several Equate products, but stopped short of forcing a recall, a decision that smelled suspiciously like corporate lobbying. Walmart's legal defense claimed the contamination posed no immediate health risk. Translation: it'll kill you later, so relax. It's the perfect metaphor for how corporate America treats low-income consumers, like guinea pigs too broke to complain, because in the kingdom of everyday low prices, the real cost is always deferred until it shows up in your bloodstream. If you're still trusting the store brand glow, it's time to break the spell. Safer sunscreens do exist. Brands like Sunbum, Think Baby, and Badger use mineral ingredients instead of volatile aerosols and publish their safety data publicly. Or try Goddess Garden and Herba Viva, small companies that prove transparency isn't a luxury item. They might cost a few dollars more, but they won't sell you sunshine with a side of slow poison. Because after Equate's benzene fiasco, one truth is impossible to ignore. When Walmart says everyday low prices, it's not just talking about money, it's talking about standards. Don't let corporate lies tan your trust. Stay informed, stay awake, and subscribe before the next safe product burns you again.
Thank you for watching all the way to the end. If you found this video helpful, don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss our daily content. Now feel free to check out some of our newest and best videos currently showing on the screen. Goodbye, and see you in the next video.